Welcome to the Nephology podcast. I'm your host, Joe David, and I'm the founder and CEO of Nephos Group. On this podcast, we talk to founders, innovators, disruptors, and entrepreneurs from all across the globe who are building in Web3, technology, and finance. And if that's something that you're interested in, please hit that subscribe button to make sure you don't miss out on any of the latest episodes. Now on to the next episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of the Nephology podcast. Happy to welcome Jake to the stage, as it were, today. Jake, how are you doing?
Man, you look really happy introducing me there. I can see it in your face.
Happy, yeah. I mean, I see far too much of you these days. Now you got the same office as me.
Yeah, I'm kind of putting that on you as well, though. Like, you were a part of that happening.
That's true, yeah, that is true.
It's what everyone, like, it's the same with girls, right? They want more Jake time, then they get more Jake time. And then they don't want more Jake time, so here we are.
Yeah, although how many girls actually want J-time?
Not many, mate. Not many.
Well, let's hope you can grow people's businesses better than you can grow your dating life, eh?
Well, you know, anyone watching this can be the judge based on what I say today, huh? Maybe I'm just a bad all-rounder.
Yeah, well, we'll find out, I guess. So, as people can probably tell, we know each other quite well. But for those that don't know who you are, maybe just give us a quick kind of overview, like who you are, where you've come from, and what brings you to here today.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a struggling entrepreneur. I have been 10 years now, 10 years in the game. I know people watching this probably thinking, he's got to be lying, he looks young. No, I'm joking. I probably look much older than I am. But yeah, I set my first business up when I was 17. Obviously, 10 years on now, I've had multiple different businesses along the way. My skill set as a founder has always been growing things. So early on in my career, I was more in the online game. So growing info products, e-com stuff. And then I transitioned full-time into crypto in 2021. I was already investing in crypto since 2017. So yeah, 9 years, still here doing podcasts. Something obviously hasn't gone right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 2021, obviously 5 years or so growing stuff. And then a couple of friends of mine that I'd met in the entrepreneurial world were launching projects in crypto. They knew my skill set. They asked if I could help out. So I did. And I watched two ideas. I think both went over $1 billion in FDV. Like in front of my eyes, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Right? Like, how is this even possible? I've been out here like grinding these businesses, and these guys have come up with ideas and attain these valuations in market cap anyway within such a short period of time. And it kind of just hooked me in. So I wanted to kind of transition my skills over into Web3 crypto. And that's what I did. So then I started taking on a few of my own clients. I had some really decent early successes going back 4 or 5 years ago now. One in particular was a DeFi protocol that got 50,000 users for in 3 months. And off the back of that, I was like, man, this is like, there's a whole world of new opportunity on how to like create growth in Web3. And I was really fascinated by it. But as I was fascinated at the same time, I was a bit daunted because I still couldn't, I'm a very, I'd say, logical person, and sometimes it's not an advantage. But I'd look at it, I'd be like, this isn't going to work long term. Like, it's not going to work long term. Everything's being grown very unsustainably from these valuations, the amount of users you can acquire in a short period of time. Like, this surely cannot be real, right? So I started to just research and become a bit of a nerd, and I realized that if we are to try and stop this industry from getting to where it is today, which obviously didn't work because we are where we are, right? We need to create a sustainable growth framework for Web3 projects that helps us leverage the unique growth opportunities that we're blessed with in Web3, accompanied with the existing principles of how to grow a business in the right way.
Yeah.
And that led to me creating the Magnet method.
Yeah.
So I started working on that 3 years ago now. That's become the foundation for Magnet, which is what I call Web3's growth engine. What we do is simple. We build sustainable growth systems for Web3 businesses. I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit more today. But yeah, Magnet method is a framework. It's an anagram for magnet. Yeah, we've been around for a couple of years now. Prior to that, it was called something else. And then we're kind of rebranded when I wanted to launch the methodology. We worked on over 30 projects, combined market capitalization in the billions. So yeah, been around the space. Main push right now is crypto is failing and I know why, and that is what that book right there is about.
Nice. I mean, that was very well summarized in a...
It's almost like I've done it before.
Yeah, I was going to say it's almost as if you practiced that, eh? So, yeah, look, what I find really interesting as well, though, which we can go on to in more detail is, there's a lot of people out there that sell marketing, growth, strategy for crypto projects. And it very much... I remember a project an NFT project we worked with, Solana-based one it was quite a while ago now, probably was 21, something like that. And they spent 18 months prior to launch building a community, right? And it was like, in principle, everything they did was great. They had this huge community. They had all these excited people, blah, 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 blah. Launch your NFT, sold out. I do a commerce because, who knows?
You never know.
Yeah, right? But like sold out the project. And then probably within 3 months, gone. Completely, and what I found fascinating was I was like, when they were building this community, I was sat there like, wow, they're doing this the right way. They're not just launching a product with no real community behind. They're really going out there. They're warming them up. They're et cetera, et cetera. And so when this thing launches, it's going to go really well because they've got all these amazing fans and whatnot. But it just completely fell off the face of the earth. And what I like about what you're doing is it's a completely different strategy. It's kind of a traditional strategy
Adapted
into
to
Web3.
Yeah, I mean, let's analyze this example, right? So, like you said, and this was the same thing when I came into Web3. I saw hundreds of thousands of people in communities and tokens with billions behind them in valuation. And I was like, this is insane. But it just doesn't add up, right? It just doesn't add up. So the progress, let's say the process for a normal business is you want to get your product out there as soon as possible because you are building something for people. You're not building it for yourself, right? And therefore, your idea, your team that you put this together, you're not going to get it right first time. And if you do, then you've won a lottery, right? So every business has to have a product, right? I'm talking simple business stuff because I genuinely believe that in Web3, we just forget that we are building businesses, right? So in this example, they've spent 18 months building a community to sell one digital asset, right? But 18 months, people were just hype, speculation, hype, right? There's nothing tangible for these people to actually start buying into, which comes to the question of what is a real community, right? So a community in traditional business form around good products and taking value and having their problems solved. In crypto, it's the idea of getting rich, right? So fast. So all they've done in this situation is build a community of people who just want to make money. They have probably zero interest in what they're building. And therefore, once that opportunity passes by, the token sale passes by, they get in, they get out, you have nothing left, right? So taking a more traditional business approach would have been early on, building a product, even if it's an MVP, pushing it out there, then getting the community built around that and working with that community until you feel that you've adequately solved their problem. And then you can start to think about, what digital asset can we bring into the equation? Because make no mistake, a digital asset, and again, I'm sure we'll get into it, can be the greatest growth lever that we have in Web3 that traditional businesses don't have. So can invested communities, because we don't just have communities in Web3 that are formed around products. We have communities that are formed around they can benefit from the success of the project or business, right? And these are two of the biggest growth levers available to us, but we front run both of them and we forget about the other stages of growth, right? And that's why we're not sustainable long term.
I think we were chatting before we came in here, and you said two things. You said one side was the marketing side, which I'll butcher, I'm sure, but was around, this is how you focus in terms of traditional kind of metrics around return on ad spend and all these bits and pieces. And then the other side of that is a sustainable business model. So good product, good distribution, whatever but also profit and loss, making money, right? People forget that in crypto. People think that because they see a Twitter or a whatever run up losses year after year after year, they think that they can just build this business and have this token with this high valuation and make no money, and that it will last forever. And they've got this really weird world, and both of us are very passionate about the crypto space. Like, we're not sitting here to say we hate crypto. You know, we are.
I hate what it's become,
but but we're passionate about the space being what it can be and helping fix it. Right. So I think that is super interesting. Is that business? Your model around is really based around traditional principles, which is very different to every single other, that I think anyway, growth marketing business out there. So, you know, you're I know you've been around the block a while, but you're a young guy. Like, a lot of people in this world just follow the sheep, right? They just what was it that really for you made you think this is broken and I know how to fix it? Because that's a big statement to make.
Yeah, so it starts from my earlier businesses. So when I was younger, I got very lucky in my first business. I hit a market at the right time, and I say it in the book, but within that first business, from like in my teen years, we did like over $500,000 within like the first couple of years of that business. And you know, as a 19-year-old, I'm like, yeah, I've fucking cracked this game. I've cracked this game. So I did everything that a stupid 19-year-old would do. I lived in penthouse apartments in London. I bought supercars. I did stupid shit, right? Because I thought that was the goal of the game, right? And I didn't have a lot of it. Like, you know, I didn't have astronomical amount of money.
Yeah.
But I had enough to have a taste and realize that this can't be my sole driver. Like, I need more than this. I have a bigger purpose in this world, and it's definitely not trying to do these things to pump up my ego, right? So that's a really key thing coming into crypto, because if I didn't have that experience, then I would have done what anyone else coming into crypto who put the work in would have done, which was what we'd say in Gen Z, try and hit a lick, right? So trying to hit a lick
really stop making me feel old, all these things you keep saying.
But look, if we talk about trying to hit a lick, a lot of people come into Web3 and crypto and they're like driven by wanting to get the Lambo, wanting to move to exotic places, wanting to like have that freedom, wanting to, you know, have the girls, the clubs, whatever it is, right? And if you're driven for that, the way in which you get that kind of becomes secondary, right? You don't give a fuck. You just want to get to that position that you want to get into, which is crypto, right? So crypto rewarded people that knew how to play the game but didn't leave any long-term value, which is why we are where we are now, right? So from my perspective, because I'd had a taste of things in my early entrepreneurial career, I knew coming into crypto that I wasn't going to be swayed by I'm doing this just to try and make money to get these things, because I know how I'm going to feel if I accomplish that. So coming into crypto, and I went through that period, like my first business failed, and I went through a very dark period of really trying to understand like what is next for me. And that's when I came into Web3 full time. And yeah, I just had a lot of questions to ask myself and work out who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. So coming into this space, what I'm saying is my mindset was very different. Like, I wanted to do real shit in this space. And that had been programmed by my earlier career. And that's why I came in and I started looking at things, and I went on this discovery path of, okay, how do I actually do that? How do I accomplish what I want to accomplish in the world through this industry?
Which is, you know, obviously for your perspective is great in that you were able to at an early age, and I've had some clients actually that have made good money in crypto early and then realized themselves that actually it didn't give them the fulfillment that they thought it would, right? And that's not to say that having nice things is not something to strive for and try and achieve. Yeah, of course. Absolutely. But what I'm still interested in here is for you is like, you know, you came into the space, you knew what you didn't want, but what was it that really made you think that, like, what I'm trying to get to is where everyone was doing the same thing. Everyone was building through KOLs and this and that. And what was it that like made you, that were able to kind of get through all those weeds and go, well, what all those people, because it's a big statement to make when a lot of people are doing things in one way to say that's wrong. I'm doing it this way and I believe this to be right. And I will show you in a few years' time when I'm still here doing this and you're not. Yeah. Why, you know, I mean, I bet a lot of those KOLs aren't making very much money right now in the market we are today, right?
No, exactly. Yeah.
You know, whereas your business is still thriving, still got clients, still moving forward. There's challenges in the market, of course. But so what was it that really kind of got you through those weeds, if you like?
I think the first thing's data. So I feel like a lot of projects went in completely blind. So they would just, again, like you mentioned earlier about other like marketing companies and, you know, strategy people and so on. But they all sell the same thing, which is the broken playbook, right? They're all like, oh, I have all these connections. I can get these people to talk about you. You know, I can pump your token price. I can do all of this sort of stuff, which if you worked with any of those people to try and create this, this, I always say, speculation and hype, where the fuck are you now? Like, that's my question to you. Probably in the dumpster somewhere, right? So when I was looking at it from an objective point of view, looking at the data, what I would look at from a KOL perspective is if a KOL promotes, and this is years ago now, if a KOL promotes a token, what is the impact on the KPIs? And at the time, a few years ago, it was very good. If a KOL promotes a product, what is the impact on the product? The data didn't add up in terms of what was available through other channels. Now, this is the key difference. When crypto started, we had limited marketing options. And the reason for that was because crypto was this massive gray area, and a lot of the big providers, a lot of the big performance marketing platforms, they didn't want to play ball, right? It was very hard to run ads on Meta. It was very hard to push certain content out, right, as well on other platforms that weren't X. That's how we ended up where we are, right? So smart people early on were like, okay, we can't advertise through these platforms, so we're going to advertise through influencers, which are KOLs, and we're going to get them to try and push the tokens, and that's going to be the biggest impact they have on KPIs, not really users, but it's going to be the token price, and that's where we make our money. That's the game. Yeah. But we are so many years on from that, and people still think that's the right thing. Like, I talk to so many businesses, right, on a weekly basis, and we have like a filtering system at Magnet. So of all the inbound that we have come in, they talk to our team, and the one or two projects that kind of pass that, I will end up speaking to. But they're still like, oh, what KOL should we use? I'm like, right. What year are we in? We're in 2026, right? You know, you can actually conduct performance marketing in crypto, targeted on chain as well. So if you want to go and target someone specifically who holds $1,000 of USDC or more, you can do that, right? And the ad platforms are going to let you do that. And then you can track the metrics, like the CTRs you're getting, the CPMs you're getting, right? What your ROAS is, okay? Why are you going to go and just take a Hail Mary on a random KOL, right? And give them 20 grand to promote you? It doesn't work.
Is that though, like, is that on the entrepreneurs, let's call them the business owners, the founders? Is it on them as like they need to be smarter in their thinking, or is it also still on the crypto? Because, you know, crypto Twitter, although it's not Twitter anymore, but is still a thing, right? Where people say, oh, this is the, you know, the vibe on crypto Twitter at the moment, or this is the, like, is it like an institutional thing now that we're so used to that way, or should these? Because from what you're saying is like founders are just like sheep; they're just following everybody else. Whereas actually, what they should really be doing is going, the way for me to be different and the way for me to grow is actually to do the opposite of what everyone else is doing.
100%. But it's like a like, I can't explain it more than like, founders come into this space and they're pre-programmed, as in like, this is what I have to do. Like, I need KOLs, I need influencers, and I need like to put all my time into like our token launch, like pre-product and all of this stupid shit, right? When you can already see, I just say, go and look on CoinMarketCap and tell me in the last couple of years how many projects there are that have sustained at least their TGE price, right? We're talking a miniature amount compared to the amount that haven't, that are all following the same playbook. It does not work, and the data is there to see. 3 years ago, it was very hard for me to get this point across because it was working in terms of creating hype and speculation.
Short term, it was working.
It was working short term, but people hadn't seen the long-term consequences, which is what we see now, right? So in the last, I'd say 6 to 12 months, people have really actually started to listen, right? And thought, okay, there has to be a different way. But that still doesn't stop the majority being pre-programmed and thinking that this is the right way.
Just as a question on KOLs, because I know that, like, you know, a year ago or whatnot, you were still working with some KOLs. So I'm assuming you don't think that KOLs are a complete... I assume you... Because, you know, I know KOLs in crypto to an extent, have a bad rep, right? But influencers, let's call them, are in every form of life that we operate, and in a lot of cases they work very well at getting a brand. Take there's this gut health brand thing, IM8 or something, that David Beckham's like part of, and like it's very much a case of, by having David Beckham's brand to it and it being sophisticated, and it does add some credibility to it. So I'm assuming you don't think like all KOLs are bad. KOLs are, you should. I assume there's a strategy behind. In some circumstances, KOLs are.
Yeah, the biggest problem that we have is that the majority of big KOLs have killed their reputations.
Yeah.
So David Beckham has a great reputation.
Yeah.
So having him on your brand is trusted. It's an authority. The problem with a lot of KOLs in crypto is they have just shielded absolutely everything on earth, right? And they have the attitude where they'd sell their mum. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like what they've done to their communities in the last few years of just taking any deal from any project and just watching their community lose as they gain, right? And I'm not talking about every single KOL.
No, of course.
There are a few examples of good KOLs that would provide a good authoritative position for a brand. What I'm more interested in on the KOL side, coming back to your insight into our business, is the smaller KOLs, the micro KOLs that have never overshield on their audiences. They are content creators. They create good content, UGC content around brands in Web3, right? And these are newer guys. They haven't been through that period of just shilling on their audiences. And therefore, having that social validation from a lot of these smaller guys is very necessary, and it is a part of a growth strategy. But it's not the thing that's going to fuel the biggest impact on the KPIs within a growth system, right? It's something that's going to add to it because you have multiple people that are talking about you that are respected in the space. The problem with most of the KOLs is they're not respected because they've dumped on their audiences so much.
And it is amazing how, it's just a side note, but not side note. It is amazing how many people still, and we've got some as clients, by the way, so I see some of this, I get insight to some of this. How many people still, believe is the wrong word, but like how many people still buy into these things when, like you say, the last 10, 15, 20 projects that these people have shilled, they've bought and have now gone to zero, for example, yet they still go and buy the 21st or the 31st. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of, and this is the get rich quick scheme as well. This is also, in a way, part of the narrative today of we have to show everyone that we're so successful and amazing, and it's all about online image and blah 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 blah. So people immediately are like, I need to get rich quick, so I can, like, that the mindset of building a product from the scratch and slowly building it seems to have gone away. It seems to be, I need to go from zero to hero.
Like and this is what I was saying, right? When new industries form, and we saw it the same in I look at crypto now very similar but smaller scale to the tech bubble, right? Of like and the dot-com crash. So when we look at that period, there were a lot of founders that were raising hundreds of millions of dollars based on the concept of what they were going to build, and eventually that dried up. And I have the problem now where we talk to projects that are like, I believe in, like, this is what I need to do, but like we're just raising at the moment. I'm like, brother, you don't have a product out there yet. You don't have users. You don't have any traction. Long gone are the days where just having this idea is going to put millions in your pocket from VCs. And it's the same in the dot-com era. Wanting to raise investment for a traditional tech company now, you have to hit all of these different things. You can't just, like I said earlier, hit a Hail Mary where someone just chucks you a load of cash when you haven't done anything yet. And we're in that same situation now within crypto. So like I was saying, back to the dot-com side, a lot of these guys raised a lot of money, made a lot of money very quickly. And I look at my field, which is kind of performance marketing and growth. A lot of these guys, when SEO first existed, or performance marketing first became a thing, or display became a thing, right? These guys made hundreds of millions of dollars, right? Because they knew how to play the game, and they were early to these different marketing opportunities that were emerging. So they came in, they hit that lick, right? And then it become harder, the game become harder. But at least that was legit, right? They were doing, they were marketing actual products, and they were just using these activities. Crypto is different. People came in and they were like, okay, the lick to hit here in crypto is to launch a token, create a load of hype and speculation, and then eventually just sell the token. Or, hype up a NFT launch. We've seen that in 2021, right? Same thing. And make my millions of dollars within a short period of time. And we idiots, and I say we because I am one of them, fueled this, right? Yeah, I'm going to buy this NFT. And, you know, I'm not going to use my logical thinking of where's the fucking real value. I'm just going to do it because it's like, it's what's cool. It's the vibe. It's what the hype is. And the guys that are best at the game were generating that the most, right? So when you see and hear stories of other people that have made millions of dollars overnight, getting rich quick, that's why the industry is the way it is, because we pansy to that, right? We gave them that, right? So when you're coming in as a real builder into Web3 and you're thinking, right, I got to take a traditional journey here. I got to invest, you know, my resources, you know, financial and time into trying to build something, proving something, getting 0 to 1, which is such a strenuous process. Then on top of that, I need to then go through in the typical growth journey. Like I could be 2-3 years out of creating any value, and obviously it's high risk. Or I could just come into this space, I could just play the game for 3 months and I could make a few $100,000, I could make a couple million. Like, what are you going to choose? Especially if your only ambition is money, right? You're going to choose the easier journey and try and hit that lick. But that lick is now run out. Okay, it's not available in Web3 anymore. And where the market is now, it's suffering from the amount of extraction that has happened over the last few years. Because if we only ever built good projects in this space, which of course isn't realistic, think of the amount of liquidity that would still be in the market.
And that's the thing, isn't it? Right now, the volume and the liquidity is just not there. And because people now are not trusting, you know, we're going back to this, you know, I still see people that are, you know, that are buying into these things, but there's also a significant amount of people now that do not trust, you know, the people that are saying these things, or they don't trust the market fundamentally.
Let me tell you how to get trusted. This simple, right? Firstly, and I'm just going to go off the magnet method here.
Yeah,
right?
so I mean, maybe we should, because one thing I want to ask you is, what is the magnet method, right? So is it better that we talk about trust now, or do you want to talk about what the magnet method is in general?
I'll talk about the magnet method, but it will build in and answer the question around how to build trust in this market, because you are 1,000,000% right. When you're going out there now and trying to gain awareness for your brand, people they're just not interested. They don't want to give you their liquidity because they've lost most of it anyway, right? So the magnet method is a growth framework, and if you implement the growth framework, you end up with a sustainable growth system. So very simply, it has five areas. So the first one is marketing, which is made up of awareness and acquisition, which essentially awareness is putting your brand or your product in front of people for the first time. Acquisition is acquiring them onto said product or service. Then we move into product, which is the second area. So let's call it the second stage of growth. In that we have activation. So now we've acquired users, how do we activate them onto the product? And then we have, after that, we have retention. So how do we keep people on it? How do we develop DAUs, MAUs, daily active users, monthly active users? Then we move into, let's say, the third stage, which is business-led growth. So now we have people that are using our product, activated on our product. How do we make sure that the business is going to grow from this? So that's revenue and that's scalability. They're the two areas, the two sides of business-led growth. Then we move on to asset-led growth. And this is where it starts to get very Web3. Because the 3 stages I just mentioned beforehand are pretty generic in a growth system in tech companies. You know, there have been multiple unicorns that have implemented that and gained success. And you can look at all of the different examples. Anyway, so you look at asset-led growth, you have token and ecosystem. Now, this is the interesting part. If you have mastered marketing, product, and business, you have a product that you can prove a use case for your token by the time you get there, your asset by the time you get there, and therefore you should have things like utility-driven purchasing that's coming into the token. Business side, if you have mastered business growth, you're scalable, you're generating revenue and you're profitable, you can fuel that and give it back to your holders. And again, that holds up the buying side, if you devise it in the right way, of your asset. So now when we're coming into asset-led growth, the hard work and the foundations have been done because we have product and business which are influencing the health of that said asset. So by the time you launch, you have sustainable buying pressure being generated from the success of the product and from the business, which gives you a floor, right, in the token. Obviously, the supply side as well. But if you hold the two up together, you can think, okay, if we have X amount of utility purchases which are coming in based on our current product users, you're not estimating, you have it. And the second side, we have, I don't know, revenue to buyback or whatever it might be. And based on our current revenue, that would equal X amount of buying pressure. You already know before you launch the asset, right, what's coming into that token. And you have the option when you're launching the asset to decide how you control your supply, right? So you can make sure that, and I did economics at university, I dropped out, but I know a little bit, right? Demand and supply. So you can make sure that demand for your asset is already going to outweigh the supply that you're dumping on the market. So by the time you get to that period, you're going to have an asset that grows in value, okay? Because you've completed the area of the system beforehand. Then the most important thing, the last one, is community-led growth. And people, like your example earlier, did community growth first. Now, one thing that is very special about crypto is that if an asset goes up in price, how much FOMO that creates, how much power and a network effect that fuels, right? So if we have mastered the asset-led growth side, so we've got a token that is increasing in value, we have the ecosystem which is booming, we then can use that, green candles, token performance, your best marketing ploy in this space, to then go and generate a community off the back of that. And the community is going to be made up of product users. They're going to be made up of external people that come along for the ride, but they bought into something that already is foundationally solid, right? So the ability to create an in community, which is the fifth stage, we have nurturing and virality. So nurturing is all about how do you create that core community, and virality is all about how do you get your community to go and become your future marketing. Because if you get that bit right, the framework restarts, because you have everyone from creating virality from your community, which is now your new awareness. And that's the first area and stage, right, of the magnet method.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much where we come down to. So that's what this book is about. And I don't know if you can see on the camera, but the way I've written this book is that, let's see here, on like marketing-led growth here, I think the camera's over here actually. On marketing-led growth here, you can see, as I go through here, there's sections for awareness, and then I talk about all of the key things to drive awareness. Then it moves on to acquisition. At the end of each stage, there's a summary and there's an implementation guide as well. So this is a practical growth playbook, right? It's a case of, but if you go through this and I'm telling you what to do and you go and implement it all, you have a sustainable growth system put in place, because you're using this framework to create a system.
And it's not just something to read, it's something to read and then actually action as well and put into
Yeah, exactly.
practice.
And in addition to that, I launched something recently called the Web3 Business School. So for someone who's more of a visual learner, we have the Web3 Business School. So I've created programs step by step, how to build a business in Web3, how to grow a business in Web3, build a growth system. Then we have the community. So every day you can jump into the community. Myself and our growth mentors are in there every day, and we're answering questions like about your project, right? And giving you that direction and guidance you need. I do weekly coaching calls as well. You can jump on and talk to me, tell me what you're building, ask for any help, advice, things like that. And there's other things as well. But the idea is like between the book, which when this is available, it's less than $1 for a digital copy. The school, to have access to us as your growth mentors and all of our programs, is less than $100 to join, right? So this is me trying to stand on business and be like, there's no excuse anymore to not build for real in Web3, because I put years into trying to understand this, and then trying it on, in the real field, on real projects, and working with so many over the last few years, come into the result of this. So you have the business school, you have this, both at one's under $1, one's under $100. You have no excuse but to try and build something for real.
Yeah. And then how are you then linking that then into the trust piece? So, we've built and I've got another question in a minute, but I just want to go back to that trust piece as well. So, we've built the business, we've got users, we've got not just got users that are signed up, we've got users that are actually using the product as well, because that's a big difference as well. People go, I've got all these users, but none of them actually use it. We've maybe launched a token, etc. So how are we now building that trust in that community? How do you get those people from being just another crypto project into actually one that people believe in and trust? And
So if we go back to the framework, okay, so it's in a certain order. So you have the marketing side first, you're fueling users, right? And you're working with those users to build a good product, and then you're fueling the business. What we've done so well in crypto is tell stories, but now it's about telling stories and being able to back them up. So simply before you get to the point of having that asset or trying to nurture that crypto-based community, that comes later in the system. Before you get to that point, you have a brand that is out there, it's solving a problem, you have tons of users, you have great reviews, you have people that are talking about you, you have a successful business that's growing on its own without the need to go and raise 2 million on an idea, right? So just having those components before you get to the crypto side, in the token and the crypto-based community, you're backing your story up. And that's, in my opinion, the biggest opportunity, because it's refreshing for people to see. There was a little period at the end of last year where revenue almost became a meta in the space, right? Which is bonkers, because that's literally business. So, you know, at the same time, it is hard to get people to trust, but if you implement the framework, you can get to that point of trust before you enter that true crypto side, crypto communities, crypto Twitter, things like this. And the work is done for you.
And I guess going back to the method, and I totally agree with everything you said. I guess the one challenge that people might say is, look, I've got these amazing ideas. I want to do things properly. I'm a legit person, blah, 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 blah. But in order to build what I need to build, I need cash. The easiest way for me to raise cash is to launch a token and get a load of money, and then I can build my product, and then I can do everything that you've just said. But I can't get there because I can't build my product. Like, there's obviously that balance, right, around, there's VCs there for a reason, private equity's there for, all these things are there for reasons in the traditional world as well as in the crypto world. So, what's your message to a founder that's like, I want to do everything you said. I want to be the most legit, trustworthy product out there, but I don't know how to start. I don't know how to even get to these users or this product because I haven't got the cash to be able to do it.
Let me ask you a question. Okay. So Jeff Bezos, right? How did he set Amazon? Did he launch a token and someone gave him millions of dollars? No. He invested his own hard-earned money to get Amazon to a point, with his utter belief, to a point where he could raise funding based on him validating the concept. Steve Jobs, same thing, right? Him and Wozniak were building products and then selling products and then raising off the back of that, right? So just because people can raise up front doesn't mean that you can't do it the traditional way, right? And the correct way. Because it also puts a lot of risk on you as a founder, right? You go and raise millions of dollars, you're not proving anything yet, and you've got thousands of investors, not just one or two big guys, thousands of people, individuals holding 100, 1,000, whatever. You got to live with that, right? I don't want to be in that world, right?
And some of those people with their life savings.
Yeah, I'm not going to launch something and potentially affect and hurt other people, right? That I don't know that works and I don't have that utter belief yet, just because someone gave me a check to go and do it, right? It's just stupid. And I feel like anyone who's ever created a crypto project, not everyone, but most people, they never think about that, right? They just go and do it because everyone else does it. So my clear message here is all successful entrepreneurs in whatever industry, they have found a way. Whether it's, I'm not saying do this, but you hear crazy stories where someone went and took a loan. Right? Yeah. There's something to do with credit card within the Airbnb story. Right. I'm not saying do that. Like I would say don't do that. Right. But the point is, and even we're in this generation now, these guys had to build technical products that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars and 20 engineers to do. We have AI. We literally have AI. You can build something now within a month that wouldn't, for $5,000 or much less, that would have taken a full tech team a year to build, and that full tech team's cost for the year would have been over $1 million 3-4 years ago, right? So where are the excuses? Get up and do it. Make it happen. Like every other entrepreneur has outside of crypto.
No, I totally agree. And I think like you've hit the nail on the head. People just find excuses. People find reasons not to, or reasons to do it the easy way.
Exactly.
And that is, in the nicest way, that is a recipe for failure.
Exactly. You're 100% right. And it's the game of it really emphasizes the game of life so well, because often short-term gratification takes away what could have been far greater if you tested yourself and you sustained a duration of a journey, right? And that constant, it's like you get to the weekend, do I go out, and get fucked up, or do I actually just keep building my thing? So you're declining the short-term gratification for the longer-term payoff.
Yeah.
And we are talking about exactly the same thing. This is literally life.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. And so for you, when you're, a typical project you're talking to, are they kind of coming to you? Because obviously that strategy you just talked about could be very early stage, right? It could be literally day one of what they need to be thinking about this.
This has been built for companies of all shapes and sizes. If you are a day one entrepreneur, great. I prefer to work with you, right? Because you haven't done anything stupid yet. Like, we can get the foundations in place properly. And by day one, I mean pre-token.
Yeah.
Like, if you've already put an asset out there, you can use the framework and then take the right approach and start building a real growth system. No problem at all. But you still have the pressure that everything's already out there. And you don't have the time to try and get it right.
And damage could be done.
The growth is testing. Growth is testing to get new data and then making refinements. That is literally the game of growth. So if you have something live and out there, your ability to do that more cleaner, I would say, is harshened. It doesn't mean that you can't do it. You can. It just means that you've created it to be a little bit harder for yourself.
Yeah, okay. And, you don't have to give anything specific, but is there anything out there at the moment you're working with that you're going, do you know what? These things are breaking the mold. They're very different. Yeah, again, it doesn't have to be a specific product itself, but is there anything out there that we're all the likes of you and I are very tired with the same old shit being regurgitated and regurgitated. But I still firmly believe that crypto, blockchain, all of that sort of stuff has a huge value to add in the future of of society and our lives. Is there anything you're seeing right now, particularly in this space, that you're really excited about?
Yeah, 100%. I'll answer it in two ways. So firstly, the way that we work at Magnet is we have really good inbound, and a lot of it comes from this sort of stuff. Like, I've got the receipts, man. I've been saying this for years. So now all of a sudden people are seeing it. They check that I've been talking about this for a long time. They're like, okay, this guy, he's different, and he's not just trying to fit because the market's broken.
Yeah.
Like, dude's been saying
he didn't say he wants something 5 years ago and now say a different thing this time.
Yeah, exactly. So even though the market is in a dire position, we have really good inbound, and our process is pretty simple. I wouldn't talk to anyone. Let's say we get 20 inbounds a week. Our team will talk to maybe 10 of those. So they'll straight away put 10 aside that don't really hit what we're looking for in terms of who we want to work with. And this comes down to the point of making sure we're working with things we see a future with. And it will make sense in a minute why that is. Then say we talk to 10 people. I'm probably ending up speaking to maybe 1 or 2 of those people. And then of those, let's say I'd speak to 2 people a week. Most of the time, it's not like none of them really interest me. Sometimes it's 1. And if so, we have like applications after, basically before I speak to them. So if the 10 people they speak to, the applications, I'll speak to 1 or 2 people. And then if we like the project, then we'll look to do something with them. This is key because a big way of how we work is through performance. So if we're working with something we don't believe we can grow, why are we working on it? Because the majority of our, let's say our incentive as a business is to go and make a result for someone and then take a share of that, which is great for the businesses we work with as well. Because if we go and build a growth system for you and let's say it makes you $1 million, then we deserve a piece of that. And without us, you wouldn't have had it in the first place. So that's our model. That's why there's that process. That's also why I have the book and the school now, because if people aren't quite at that level yet, I don't want to just say, we can't help you. I want to help you. I want to get you to that point, right? Which is why we have the Web3 Business School and we have the book to try and kind of broaden the space's approach and generate more of those real businesses that we'd love to work with and we think we can really drive forward based on where this industry is going. The second point in terms of what I think is really interesting right now, so DeFi always is for me, 100%, and being able to connect kind of traditional finance to decentralized finance. And we have one client in particular that's doing that on a big scale right now. The other side, 100%, is tokenization, 1,000,000%. And the reason for that is because if we look at the growth framework again, the ability to give an invested ownership to nurture an asset and a community around is such a great growth lever that you have the traditional components, you add those parts on, but the difference here is what that asset is backed by something. It has real value behind it. So we can, applying it to a growth framework, we're just running this, but we have that asset which already has value behind it, which makes our job so much easier. And also, look, let's be real, tokenization does really solve problems.
Yeah, it does.
A lot of shit that people have tried to build, like, I'm going to build the next decentralized social media or whatever, like actually trying to get adoption for that, this whole idea of consumer crypto, it's just not really there, right? Like consumer crypto, as we might have believed it would have been, hasn't proven anything yet. Because are we going to just all of a sudden have all these new users that are like pro decentralization? I hope so, but it's not there yet. And it's going to, if it ever does get there, it's going to be a long time.
Yeah.
What's the immediate problems in the real world we can solve with our technology? Tokenization, very, very simply, and I did a talk at the Burj Khalifa a few months ago about this. Firstly, you get access to global liquidity. Let's go with real estate, right? If you're selling property in Dubai, you can have investors from all over the world, but there's a lot of constraints in that process, from getting an investor from this country to invest over here, receive their yields. There's a whole, and you'll know this, right? There's a whole process there. If I can just go online and buy the asset, wow.
Yeah.
That's improving ease and accessing that global liquidity more. Access to new audiences. So fractionalization works here really well because, I want to buy this piece of art. I think it's going to go up in value. Shit, I can't afford 50 grand, but this is the one I know I need to buy. Oh, I can buy, 2 or 3 shares in that now, and get access to it over time. So there's a bunch of other reasons for the purpose of time, and I'll cut down. But the tokenization excites me very simply because it solves real problems in the real world. And the same with anything DeFi, in that connection to traditional finance, solves problems in the real world.
Yeah. I think what's interesting around tokenization as well is what sometimes people forget is tokenization was here when NFTs were here. That's what they were, right? They were tokenized, kind of representations of certain things. The problem was it fell in the old method or the incorrect method of
everyone just tried to hit
get rich quick, and so, it didn't work. But the actual concept of tokenization, isn't new. Do you know what I mean? And and lastly, just to wrap up, because like you say, we are close to time here, but what's next for you guys? What's the next 12, 18 months look like for you guys?
Good question. Same journey, man. Same journey. Trying to push to the industry the new way of being able to grow something in Web3. It's not really new anymore because I've been trying to say this for years, but spreading that as wide as I possibly can, and getting real businesses built in Web3. That's as simple as it is.
Yeah.
And I would say, for founders, being able to have them coming and have a growth system set approach that they follow to apply their idea to, it's going to save them so much time as well. Because currently you might hire a marketing agency to do X, Y, and Z, a dev team to build X, Y, and Z product. Your founders are designing the business model. Then you've got a tokenomics guy who's doing the token stuff, community manager doing the community stuff. Nothing interlinks. Nothing's in a system. Yeah. That's the one thing that we didn't speak about. When you put the framework and it builds a system, having all these components in one thing, you look at the system, right? You look at the data. And for our clients, we have magnet dashboards now where you can do just that. You can look at the different components of your growth system, the different metrics that they're hitting and how that impacts your KPIs from one view, right? You're not trying to control all these different important, types of growth in separate ways and wasting all of this time, because that's another big reason why projects fail. So really providing projects with the infrastructure on how to build sustainable growth systems in Web3 and making as much noise as we can about that and helping as many people as we can so we can move this industry into where it should be and take advantage of the opportunity that is there.
Yeah, amazing. Love that. Jake, thanks so much for coming along. Where can people find you?
So my social is Jake on Block. And that's on pretty much everything. And I put content out like this quite a lot.
All the time.
Quite a lot. So yeah, I'd probably say just find me there. And then on there, like I said, the book's less than $1 to grab it on Amazon.
Yeah, we'll link it in below.
Yeah, perfect. I appreciate that. And then the same with the Web3 Business School.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if you follow my socials, you'll hear about that stuff anyway. So yeah, look forward to hopefully seeing some people there.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Good to see you.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.